It was the kind of rainy night that makes every window rattle and every shadow look alive. My wife had finally managed to get our 2-year-old son, Hassan, to sleep in his crib. I offered to take the night shift, so I lay on the bed with the baby monitor beside me, watching the little green light flicker with each soft breath he took. Around 2 a.m., I stirred awake to static whispering through the monitor. Then came a sound that froze me. Hassan's laugh. But he was right there, his tiny chest rising and falling against my shoulder. The laugh wasn't coming from him. It was coming from the monitor. I sat up, heart pounding. The small screen showed the crib, half lit by the street lamp outside. For a moment it was empty. Then the picture jittered, and a shadow crossed the frame. A thin figure crouched by the crib rail, hair hanging over its face. I grabbed my phone, trying to stay quiet. The app for our new smart lock said front door, locked. I exhaled, relief flooding me for just a second. Then another notification blinked across the screen. Wrong PIN attempt, 3x, followed by access granted. I froze. The air felt suddenly colder, heavy in my chest. The doorknob to the bedroom gave a soft rattle. I clutched Hassan tighter, pressed him against me. With my free hand, I grabbed the kitchen knife I'd left on the dresser. On the bed, the baby monitor flickered again. Now the shadowy figure leaned into the camera. When it spoke, the sound wasn't Hassan at all. It was my own voice, distorted and hushed. She'll go back to sleep. I'm here now. The hallway light clicked on. Off. On again. Each flash revealed the dark outline closer to the door. Then, silence. A loud metallic clang rang out from the backyard, like someone had jumped onto the water tank. The police arrived minutes later, sirens cutting through the dawn. They found the back door latch snapped clean, as if pried by a hooked wire. The smart lock log was corrupted, showing only that eerie access granted at 2:01 a.m. When they checked the courtyard, they found faint marks pressed into the wet dirt. Tiny hands. Not baby-sized exactly, but not quite adult either. Small, narrow, and far too many of them. Even now, when I hear the baby monitor crackle, my chest tightens. I don't know what came into our home that night. I only know one thing. Sometimes, when Hassan stirs in his sleep and whispers, I can't shake the fear that the next laugh I hear won't be his. It had only been a couple of weeks since I'd moved into the old flat. The rent was cheap, the street was quiet, and the landlord had seemed almost too eager to hand over the keys. He gave me one strange warning, though. Don't worry about the attic. It's sealed. No one's been up there in years. At the time, I laughed it off. Old houses have quirks, creaky floors, odd smells, corners that never see the sun. The attic was just one more locked place I didn't need to think about. Or so I told myself. The first sign that something was off came 3 nights later. I reached for a spoon in the drawer, and one of them was missing. Small thing. I figured I must have misplaced it. Maybe dropped it in the sink and didn't notice. The next day, I couldn't find a pair of socks I had left on the chair. Again, I brushed it off. But then one morning, I padded out to the kitchen and froze. Muddy footprints tracked across the stairs. Not mine. The pattern was wrong. Bare feet. The prints were too long and narrow, like a child's, but with toes that seemed wrong stretched. I called a friend to joke about it, trying to mask the knot in my stomach. He laughed and said, "Probably rats. But no rat I've seen leaves human toes behind." That night I couldn't sleep. I kept staring at the ceiling, convinced I heard faint shuffling above me. By 3 a.m., I grabbed a flashlight and pulled a chair under the attic hatch. The wood panel stuck at first, swollen with years of damp, but finally creaked open. SFX. Wood creaking, faint rustle of fabric. The beam of my torch cut through dust motes. At first it looked empty. Then my light caught the corner. There was a pile of blankets, some food wrappers, a half-empty water bottle, and a child's notebook, pages covered with jagged scribbles. My chest tightened. Someone had been living above me. I stumbled down, heart racing, slammed the hatch shut, and called the police. When they arrived, 4 officers climbed up with their own lights. They were up there for 10 minutes, crawling over beams and insulation. When they came down, one of them wiped dust off his uniform and shrugged. "Old squat," he said. "Looks like whoever was here moved on. You're fine." I wanted to believe him. I really did. For a week, I tried. I went to work, came home, locked my doors. At night, I left the TV on for background noise. But no matter what, I could hear it. The faint creak of wood, timed too perfectly to be the house settling. Sometimes it was like someone crawling on hands and knees right over my bed. Then came the night I'll never forget. I came home late, juggling grocery bags. Something was wrong the moment I stepped inside. The air felt stale, thick, like someone had been breathing in it all day. I dropped the bags, looked up. The attic hatch was open. From the square of darkness above, a rope of knotted bedsheets dangled down, brushing the top stair. My legs locked. I backed away slowly, grabbed my phone, and whispered to the emergency operator that someone was in my house. While I waited for the sirens, the sheet rope jerked. Something unseen climbed down. The thump of bare feet on wood echoed in the silence. SFX, soft, deliberate footfalls. A long pause. I could see a shadow at the end of the hallway. Too still, too thin. When the officers finally burst in, guns drawn, the shadow darted up the stairs again with unnatural speed, and the hatch slammed shut. This time, when they opened it, they found him. A man, maybe in his 30s, filthy, hair matted in knots. His eyes darted everywhere, wild and feral. The police dragged him down, and only then did I realize his hands were caked in black grime. He'd been living in the attic the whole time, climbing down at night to eat scraps, watching me sleep from the ceiling above. They led him away in handcuffs. The officers told me he'd been hiding in different houses for months, slipping in when people weren't home. The flat is empty again now. I left the next morning. Still, whenever a floorboard creaks above me in my new place, I can't help but wonder, what if someone else is up there, waiting for me to turn off the light? It was the middle of winter, the kind of night when the cold gets into your bones no matter how many blankets you pile on. My wife and I had gone to bed early, the house wrapped in silence. Outside, the fields behind our rented home stretched out in a dark sheet, broken only by the occasional bark of a stray dog. I must have been asleep for a couple of hours when a sound cracked through the quiet. Knock, knock, knock. 3 sharp raps at the front door. I jerked awake, heart hammering. The glowing red numbers on the clock read 3:02 a.m. My wife stirred beside me, whispering, "Who would knock at this hour?" I slipped out of bed, grabbed the cricket bat from the corner, and padded down the hallway. The wooden floorboards betrayed me with every creak. At the door, I pressed my eye against the peephole. Nothing, just the empty porch bathed in the dim glow of the security light. I held my breath and waited. Silence. I was about to turn back when, knock, knock, knock. This time, it came from the back door. Every nerve in my body lit up. Whoever it was had circled the house in seconds. I crept through the kitchen, bat raised. The metal handle of the back door rattled, slow and deliberate. "Who's there?" My voice came out hoarse. No answer. Just another noise. A child's voice, small and shaking. "Uncle, can I come in? Please. I'm cold." The words chilled me more than the night air. We lived on the edge of nothing but scrubland. There weren't any children around at this hour. I glanced at my wife. She was standing in the hallway now, pale as paper, clutching our sleeping son to her chest. I pulled the curtain back, just an inch to peek outside. There, on the porch, stood a figure. Small, shoulders hunched. It looked like a child in tattered clothes. But the head was wrong. Tilted sharply to one side, as though the neck had been broken, and yet the figure stood upright. I let the curtain fall back into place. My mouth had gone dry. "Don't open it," my wife whispered. The knocking grew faster, louder, desperate. "Please, Uncle, let me in." The child's voice scraped like broken glass, and then, chillingly, it shifted, deeper, older. "Please, I'm so cold." I backed away, still clutching the bat, and dialed the police with trembling fingers. The dispatcher told me to stay inside, to keep the doors locked. Help was on the way. That's when it got worse. The knocking didn't just come from the back door anymore. It echoed from the front at the same time. Then the side window. Then the walls. As if the house itself was being tapped on from every angle. Knock, knock, knock. Knock, knock, knock. Knock, knock, knock. Hassan whimpered in my wife's arms. I whispered for her to take him into the bathroom and lock the door. She hesitated, but the sound of something scratching at the glass convinced her. I heard the lock click behind her as she disappeared into the small room. I stood in the dark living room, bat trembling in my hands. The tapping suddenly stopped. The silence was louder than the noise had been. I inched closer to the window, pulling the curtain back again. The porch was empty. Then I heard it, directly behind me. Knock, 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 on the inside of the front door. I froze. Slowly, almost against my will, I turned my head. There, standing with its forehead pressed against the door, was the same figure. Up close, I saw its skin was gray and wet, like it had been in the ground too long. The head hung at that impossible angle, but the mouth stretched in a grin too wide for a child. It didn't move, didn't blink. It just pressed its face against the wood, leaving behind a smear of something dark. The sirens arrived then, flashing blue and red through the windows. The figure turned its head, not at the lights, but at me. The smile widened, and then it was gone. The police swept the house from attic to basement. Nothing. No footprints this time. No broken locks, no intruder. One of the officers even joked that maybe I'd been dreaming. I didn't argue. I just nodded, holding Hassan close. But when the sun came up and the police left, I saw it, carved into the wood of the back door. A single word, etched deep as if with fingernails. Inside. We moved out that same week. The landlord didn't ask why, and I didn't explain. But sometimes, even now, I wake at 3 a.m. to a soft knocking in my dreams, and I wonder if the figure ever left that house, or if somehow it followed us here.